Have you ever had a cold or the flu? How about chickenpox? Well, those are all caused by viruses. Viruses are like tiny ninjas that can make us sick. They're much smaller than bacteria, and you need a powerful microscope to even see them. Here's the thing about viruses. They aren't actually alive. I know that sounds weird, right? They can't reproduce on their own. They need to hijack other cells to make more viruses. Think of them like pirates who need to steal a ship to sail the seas. Viruses are basically little packages of genetic material. This material contains the instructions for making more viruses, but they can't read these instructions themselves. They need a living cell to do it for them. So, while they might act alive, viruses are really just tiny troublemakers causing big problems. Let's dive in and learn more about these sneaky invaders. Imagine a tiny ball. That's kind of what a virus looks like, but inside that ball, there's not much going on. No nucleus, no cytoplasm, none of the usual stuff you find in a living cell. Instead, a virus has just two main parts. First, there's the genetic material. This is like the virus's blueprint. It tells the virus how to make copies of itself. This genetic material can be either DNA or RNA. You might know that we have DNA in our cells too. The second part is a protective coat called a capsid. The capsid is made of protein and it surrounds the genetic material, keeping it safe. Think of it like a suit of armor for the virus. Some viruses have an extra layer called an envelope. This envelope is made from bits of the virus's previous host cell. It's like the virus is wearing a disguise to sneak into other cells. That's pretty much it. Viruses are actually quite simple in their structure, but don't let that fool you, they're masters of causing trouble. So, how do these tiny troublemakers actually make us sick? Well, they have a sneaky way of getting inside our bodies and hijacking our cells. It all starts with a simple process. First, the virus has to find a cell to infect. It does this by bumping into cells until it finds one with the right receptors. Think of receptors like a lock, and the virus has the key. Different viruses have keys for different types of cells. That's why some viruses only infect certain parts of the body. For example, the flu virus loves to infect cells in your respiratory system. Once the virus finds the right cell, it attaches itself to the surface. Then it injects its genetic material into the cell. Imagine a tiny syringe injecting that blueprint into the cell's control center. Now here's where things get really interesting. The virus's genetic material takes over the cell's machinery, turning it into a virus-making factory. The cell, now under the control of the virus, starts making copies of the virus's genetic material and capsid proteins. All those new virus parts start to assemble, putting themselves together like tiny Lego bricks. Soon the cell is filled with brand new viruses all ready to break free. Finally, the cell bursts open, releasing all those newly made viruses. These viruses can now go on to infect even more cells, and the cycle repeats. Viruses are everywhere, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Some are round, some are rod-shaped, and some even look like little spaceships. But no matter what they look like, they all share that same sneaky way of infecting cells. There are viruses that infect animals, plants, and even bacteria. In humans, viruses cause a wide range of diseases, from the common cold to more serious illnesses like measles, mumps, and rubella. Remember those childhood vaccines? They protect us from some of these serious viral diseases. We're constantly discovering new viruses. In recent years, you've probably heard a lot about coronaviruses. These viruses can cause respiratory illnesses. And in 2019, a new coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, emerged, causing the COVID-19 pandemic. The diversity of viruses is astounding. And as we continue to study them, we're learning more about how they work and how to protect ourselves from the diseases they cause. Section 5. Viruses on the move. Why it's hard to keep up. Viruses are masters of disguise, constantly changing and evolving. Think of them like chameleons, blending in and adapting to their surroundings. This constant change makes it tricky to develop treatments and vaccines. You see, when a virus replicates, it sometimes makes mistakes when copying its genetic material. These mistakes are called mutations. Most mutations are harmless, but sometimes a mutation can give the virus an advantage. For example, it might make the virus more contagious or better at evading our immune system. This rapid evolution is why we need new flu vaccines every year. The influenza virus is constantly changing, so the vaccine needs to be updated to match the circulating strains. It's like trying to hit a moving target. Scientists are always working to understand how viruses evolve and to develop new strategies for combating these ever-changing foes. Section 6. Understanding viruses, our best defense. Even though viruses are tiny, they can cause big problems. That's why understanding them is crucial for protecting public health. The more we know about how viruses work, the better equipped we are to prevent and treat the diseases they cause. Vaccines are one of our most powerful tools against viruses. Vaccines work by introducing a harmless piece of the virus to our immune system. This training helps our bodies recognize and fight off the actual virus if we ever encounter it. Antiviral drugs are another important weapon in our arsenal. These drugs work by interfering with the virus's ability to replicate. However, developing effective antivirals can be challenging because viruses are so good at mutating and becoming resistant. In addition to vaccines and antivirals, simple things like washing our hands frequently, covering our coughs and sneezes, and staying home when we're sick can go a long way in preventing the spread of viruses. Section 7. The never-ending battle. The battle against viruses is a never-ending one. As we develop new treatments and vaccines, viruses are constantly evolving, finding new ways to outsmart us. It's a constant game of cat and mouse. But don't worry, we're not defenseless. Scientists around the world are working tirelessly to understand viruses and develop new strategies to combat them. They're using cutting-edge technology to study viruses in ways never before possible. And it's not just about fighting existing viruses. Scientists are also constantly on the lookout for new and emerging viruses, trying to predict and prevent future outbreaks. Section 8. Viruses and the future. So, what does the future hold for our battle against viruses? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but one thing's for certain: viruses will continue to be a part of our lives. New viruses will emerge, and existing viruses will continue to evolve. But here's the good news. We're getting better at understanding and combating them all the time. Advances in technology and medicine are giving us new tools to fight back. Imagine a future where we have vaccines for all the major viral diseases. Imagine a world where we can quickly develop treatments for new viruses, preventing pandemics before they start. That's the future we're working towards. Section 9. The good side of viruses? It might surprise you to learn that not all viruses are bad. In fact, some viruses can be beneficial. Scientists are exploring the use of viruses in medicine, using them to deliver drugs to specific cells or even to fight cancer. These good viruses are called oncolytic viruses. They infect and destroy cancer cells while leaving healthy cells unharmed. It's like having tiny assassins targeting those harmful cells. So while viruses are often seen as villains, they also have the potential to be heroes in the fight against disease. It's all about understanding their powers and using them for good. Section 10. The importance of research. Research is absolutely key in our ongoing battle against viruses. By studying viruses, we gain a better understanding of their biology, how they infect cells, and how they evolve. This knowledge is essential for developing effective treatments and vaccines. Governments and organizations around the world need to continue investing in viral research. Supporting scientists and their work is crucial for protecting public health. We need to stay one step ahead of these tiny troublemakers. Remember, knowledge is power. The more we learn about viruses, the better prepared we'll be to face the challenges they pose. Section 11. So, what have we learned? We've learned that viruses are tiny but mighty. They're not alive in the same way as other organisms, but they can cause some serious trouble. We've explored their sneaky tactics for infecting cells and how their constant evolution makes them tricky to target. But most importantly, we've learned that understanding viruses is our best defense against them. By supporting research, developing vaccines and treatments, and practicing good hygiene, we can protect ourselves and future generations from these microscopic menaces. So, the next time you hear about a virus, remember, it's just a tiny troublemaker. And with knowledge and innovation, we can keep these tiny troublemakers in check.